We're live.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Dojo. Once again, I am joined with Nathmar, Ray, and Sean. My name is Carmen, and we're going to be going over the week's. I want to call it chaos. I don't know. It depends on which Facebook group you're in. It's chaos. It's beauty. It's a bloodbath. Who knows? So we're going to jump right in. Sean, highs and lows for you. What do you think?
I was looking at my little chart that I keep for Common Comics, month to month, and just for like a 60-day period, it's like absolutely chaos, like absolute chaos. Like there's books that have went from like 14 gyms to like 60 floor, like so that's insane. I mean that's a 400% increase in like 50 days. And sustained, like they're staying at 60 even when they crashed all the way, it still stayed at 60. Some of them, Avengers 57 Vision's first appearance, I mean stuff like that's sneaking under the radar, that hit an all-time high. I mean it's at 45, or at least as far as I know. And then you got other stuff like Wonder Woman, just from last week it doubled and then went back down to 1,000, and then now it's going to creep back up probably to 2 and retrace it. I mean, there's hundreds of examples like that. I mean, we're learning stuff about the market that we didn't know before. Like, I mean, we kind of knew, but now we're definitely starting to see that there's cycles.
Right. Ray, what about you?
I mean, straight on, I think Sean hit it on the head, right? We're starting to see another iteration of what that cycle looks like from Disney Golden Moments. This one, obviously, not as, I guess, impressive or as expansive as Disney Golden Moments, so I don't think we saw quite the shift. But we did see, hey, it's possible. And so I think there's always going to be good buying opportunities going forward. I think that the drop today with the Batman, I think everyone's a little disappointed in the circle of death for the reserving the order. I though think it ran still better than the Disney Golden Moments. Like no one had the issue where it completely went away. The buy counter kept restarting. And what are we seeing? Veve, I guess, as slow as it is, they are starting to keep up somewhat with the ever increasing. Like, I wonder how many more thousands of people were trying to get this drop versus the Mickey had. And when we see a little bit better performance, I don't want to say great performance. I think there's a lot of room for improvement. But at least we didn't have any major malfunctions. So, for me, again, I think that's, we're moving baby steps forward.
Nice. Nathmar, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, sorry guys for my video. Somehow there's a camera issue, so hopefully I'll fix it next time. But yeah, I mean, the Craven run, I didn't get a single one out of that whole drop, so I was a little disappointed. And I definitely do not want to pay in the $20-$30 range. I really think that's probably gonna drop. So I want them for my PC, but I think I'm gonna hold until it drops under 15 or near 10, to get some for my PC. So definitely it's a great series, but it's good because we see demand is strong, right? So people are buying NFTs no matter if they're a major grail or a minor or key, right? So the Batman statue, we're all disappointed. I really thought I got it. They kept saying reserved. So I was like, then I went to the chat and all you guys were saying everybody got the same thing. I was like, oh, I hate you guys, man. I knew I should have checked out the chat. So I was a little disappointed. But I think, yeah, I mean, I thought it fell in the price range that I thought it would, like in that 1,500 was normal range. If it goes higher, that means demand is really high, but it can still drop. So I'd be careful buying more than 1,500 gems for it. Or maybe it will explode to 3,000. You never know. But I mean, from a risk perspective, I probably wouldn't buy it like unless it was like under 1,000. I don't know. For me, unless you really want to take the risk, it's possible it might explode. I mean, for me, I'm probably going to pass on it for now.
Yeah, I think we learned a lot of lessons this week. Just for some perspective, I was looking at my portfolio and, it went from, I'll just say it, it went from 24K on the 15th it ran up to, I think I had 41K in value at one point, and then it dropped back down to 22, and now I'm back at like 31. And I wasn't like buying and selling. It was just the nature of what we were seeing. I think the lesson learned there is just a little bit of like discipline, like, and being like, okay, the world isn't ending. This is what happens when something like that Croc statue gets announced. And you know, and we're slowly amassing this resume of events, right? Disney Golden Moments, 12 Days of Veve. We're now seeing these new things roll out in the new year. The Craven drop for the week was really, really interesting because some people were really excited about it, and some people, I didn't care. What I was not that it was nice to see, but I was excited to see that, you know, it was a 30K comic, and it was not a key issue, and it sold out. It taught us the lesson of like, hey, if it's a 30K mint comic, they're gonna start hitting the marketplace at $30. Like, we're gonna see 30 gem comics now from a 30K mint book. So you have to either hit it on the drop, or if you want 3 copies for whatever reason, you better have 100 gems ready to go. Now, that week, depending on what the book is, will these books fall back down to 20 or 17? Maybe. But and this is another topic for later on in this segment. But then the question is, well, do you buy it? Like, what else would you rather have instead of the Spider-Man book? Do you buy an X-Men 129 for $18? And that's a whole nother conversation. We got the Battle statue, which, you know, we'll talk about the Wheel of Death a little bit later on too. But I really wasn't too hot for it. It's interesting to see how it's doing. The mini announcement, I think, may have disrupted the momentum of the Battle statue, though, because I think people were like, oh, the statue first color, it's a Battle statue, a villain's in it, and then the mini announcement came, and I can imagine every executive at DC just being like, what are you doing? You just stole our thunder. And then we get the Strange Academy announcement, which I'm super excited for. So the thoughts on the week are interesting. This brings us to
Carmen, I did want to say too. What I found interesting is, you know, the dip this time, and now we have the V Vault, so we can kind of track. But one thing I see is we get more and more users waiting to pick up these grails, right? Because everyone wants the Elsa, everyone wants the C3PO, which momentarily hit 4K out of reach for probably 90% of the base if you're just coming in as a new investor. So I wonder how much, you know, honestly, do we see a big Disney-sized dip again? Because you have all these people sitting on the sidelines waiting to pick these grails up, right? Wonder Woman never dipped under. I watched it like no shit for 2 days straight. I checked every 15 minutes while I was at work.
I was checking for you too. I was just like, "Oh man, is he gonna go to 1K for him?"
And I swear, I was sitting up. I set my alarm clock today for 6 a.m. just to wake up and see if I could catch one last person trying to sell real cheap. But it never really dipped under 1100 for more than 5 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. And those were terrible minutes. And they scooped up, right? And so, again, we're just not seeing the retracement that I think we saw in the Disney Golden Moments where, I mean, some of those comics came crashing back down. You know, even Marvel Comics 1 went back down to like 40, 50.
Yeah, Kang was at 450, 475, and it dropped all the way down
into 80, 90 again,
125
right?
Or something, like 100.
Yeah, a complete retracement.
Yeah.
Superman dropped down to like 550 gems during these moments.
Well, now I just hate myself.
Yeah. If only we knew where we were now. But, you know, it's an interesting thought that now with all these, you know, 1.5 million, how many of those are real? How many of those are duplicate? We don't know. But it's interesting to see that effect on these dips for the drops, because I don't know that we see a Disney Golden Moment size dip again, because there's just so many people waiting like I was for that good price.
Yeah, I just don't know if it's possible anymore to lose that much value, because if even a tenth of the user base is real, even a tenth, I mean, that's still bigger than every single drop size.
Yeah, so I'm actually seeing, like, noticing, I met like a lot of more new NFT like collectors. So I am noticing it's interesting, like how they interact, right? Some of them are not comic savvy like we are here, right? So we know which ones are the high value mega keys, right? So definitely you should not drop Wonder Woman, or we should not drop UF4. Those are, we know that. But I noticed there's a lot of non-comic book people who are also heavily invested. So for them, they're probably just wondering, let me drop Wonder Woman and let me get the hottest, like this hottest new drop, the Battle Croc, right? And they don't know. So people like Ray will jump in right away and scoop it, right? So, but there's a lot out there. I've been noticing in a bunch of groups that I've been in that there's a lot of non-comic book savvy people. So I think, yeah, it's interesting. People will buy and sell just to get on the latest drop and try to get that big spike and make a lot of short-term quick money, right? Double or triple their money or something like that, right? So
Totally. I had a guy today just ask me, he's like, well, I don't really know what to do because like he got lucky on a few drops, and he's like, I have a Wonder Woman and I have an Ultimate Fallout 4, and he never really like was using the app a lot, and he's like, is that a key, or these blue chips? Like, should I be keeping these, or should I sell them for the new stuff that's coming out because they've gone up so much? And then he was like, also, is Strange Academy, is that a key? Like, should I be buying that, or is that just like a modern comic that nobody wants? Like, why is that a key? And I was just like, wow, there's people on this platform that are spending at this point thousands of dollars, haven't gotten any returns, any access to the money, and they're still going to spend more money. And they're learning. Like, they're actually asking questions and they're trying to learn about this stuff, not just buying shit. Like, they're legit having conversations with people like me that have like decades of comic experience, and they're like, wow, thank you. And like, they're super appreciative. Like, almost every single person I've spent time talking with, all of them were super appreciative, and they were like, oh, I will use that knowledge in the future when I buy stuff.
yeah, and that's why I'm proud of this group, actually, right? You guys, I think you guys are all comic savvy, and I think we take it to another level that, some people who are new to just NFTs or new to comics will probably take a little bit of learning curve, right, to get to where we are, right? So
Totally.
I think we have a little advantage there, and we have a lot of wealth. So I think that's why it's great we're doing this show as well, to share to people.
Yeah, which, I mean, so speaking of sharing, we'll transition right into the next segment that people seem to be most fond of. And I'm taking a recommendation from last week. Money well spent is now a different game, because like during our first week, what did we do? It was like 300, 500 or something. Like, and you could have a long conversation about how to spend $300 or $500. We have since shifted, and now we are moving to 100, 300. Well, sorry, 100, 500, and 1,000 are going to be our price points. And we will just kind of circle around, and we'll start with our $100 buys, and then we'll move on to our 500, and then we'll move on to our 1,000. Nathmar, let's start with you. If you have 100 gems to spend, what are you buying?
I believe I want to buy a board cube. I think those are still, I forgot, were they 60 or $80? So I think they're still under 100. But I mean, I'm a Trekkie fan. I love Star Trek, and I love the Borg. I always enjoyed whenever the Borg used to make appearances in Star Trek. I used to get really excited. So I think those are still undervalued. I think Sam Wilson dipped now again under 100 after that Batman Croc drop. So if you can get it under 100, I think it got up to 150 at some point. So I think it's a good deal if you get it towards 100. The Thing also, I think it's still around, I forgot, between 40 to 50. I still think that's
it's
way
back
undervalued.
to 79 right now, Nathmar. I looked at that because that was going to be my pick, and now it's gone up like 30%.
Woohoo! Yeah, so I think Thing can go up to, I think, $200 or 300 in the next year, I think. So it's got potential.
Nice. Sean, what about you?
For 100, I'm still going to stick with Common Storm until that's not true. I'm going to say that every week until it's not 100. Like,
Write him.
Yeah, I think it's going to be $500. I think it's a 5x that's going to happen this year, not like in future years. It's going to happen soon, and I keep buying one whenever I can.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you, but I'll save mine for last. Ray, what do you got?
I was also going to say Storm, but to go with other options, I would go New Mutants 98, went back down to about 55. I think that's a
Yep.
if you want more of a quicker flip, I think that's solid. ASM3, I don't know where it's at now, but I saw it at like 65, and I think that's a real solid bet. And then lastly, I am a big proponent now. Hoverboards dipped a lot on this one, and I think the Rising Sun hoverboard hit 100 on this dip. And I did not scoop one because I got the battle statue, but that was on my list of to-dos, and so I think that's a solid pick.
Yeah, that's I mean, I guess to beat a dead horse, because I do think these need to be beaten. Storm, I keep telling people, like, I don't know why you're not buying Storm statues. Like, I have 8 of them. I didn't get them at 100. I got them when they were cheap. But even I bought one today for like 85, and now it's whatever. If it dips below 100, I'm buying one. If I have those sort of spare gems from other deals that I've made. Thing is another really good one. If Thing drops down to 40 again, you should probably buy one. Sam Wilson, same thing. I think Sam Wilson, had a high of about 150-ish. New Mutants 98. I think grab 2 of them if you can. If you want to invest in comics, that's a good move. And if you're thinking comics and you already have New Mutants 98 and you have 100 gems, you might want to buy 4 Iron Fist 14s that are around $20. Because again, when Wolverine comes, I think it's just only a matter of time before we get that Sabretooth explosion. And then hoverboards. Like hoverboards, if you're interested in renting stuff, I don't even know. I'm hoping that we can rent hoverboards. I don't even know if that's true, but I personally am betting on it because I like it. So those are my 100s. Now, if we go up to 500, I guess we could probably buy more of the $100 spends that we already talked about, or we can sort of switch things up. So, Nathmar, what do you got for 500?
We should say you can't repeat what you bought for 100, so to make it interesting, right?
Great rule. Let's do that.
That's fair.
I got Robin 76. That's is that Damon Wayne, right? You said Damon. So that I think is definitely still 300 something, or it can definitely go up to 500. Slimer, I think it's in the mid 300s. I like the Uprising art. That's the one that looks like that wave, of rabbits. Ultraman posters, anything that you can get under 500, I think they're a good investment. They might be actually between 100 to 200 bucks. And James Bond art. I've been picking up a couple of James Bond art lately, so hopefully I'll add some more. And Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers is still 150, I think, way undervalued. He can definitely hit 200, 300, maybe even 400 next year. So I think those are good potential investments.
Very nice. Sean, what about you?
Ultimate Fallout 4 was all the way up at almost 200 at one point. And I've seen it out of everything in the dip. Ultimate Fallout 4 kind of like held like really strong ground in comparison to a lot of other comics. I mean, it touched 100 one time that I saw, but then after that, it's been 120, 130, and usually getting closer to 150. Right now it's about 125, but it's probably gone up since I've looked last. I get 4 of them. I think 4 of those for 500 is a great investment. I think long term you're gonna make a lot of money off of that.
Nice. Ray, what about you?
I think Marvel Comics 1 at 480, just because I think that comic soon will begin its ascent into the stratosphere, and it'll kind of be like what Walt and Risso did, where it just kind of, it's a whole nother league all by itself. But I think at 450, that's solid. And then you keep the extra 30, 40 gems for drops. So I like Marvel. I think UF4 is great. And that's actually me and my old roommate my roommate runs it, but we've gone halvesies on the account just to see where it can go. And missed the drop today. Got an Ultimate Fallout, I believe, for 107. And so
Nice.
we've already, so I mean, that was just, that was my pick right there. So I'm with you, Sean. I think that's a lot of ground. The only other one I would suggest, Fantastic Four 1 and 5 are both, I mean, they both took some pretty sizable hits. I think they're kind of up there now, but depending on when you can get that and where we see pre-mini drop, I think that's any of the big 3 are going to be solid.
Yeah, that's an important thing too. Like, like we're talking about like trying to hit the market when it's polite to us, not like when you like need the gems. Try to hit it when there's announcements so that you can get those good deals on Ultimate Fallout 4, because it will go back up to 140, 150, and you can literally get like 20 free gems even after taxes and all the fees. It's literally, you could literally just buy it and then sell it like an hour later and literally make 20 gems. And almost every time I've seen.
Yeah, I think one of the things before I get to mine that if people are watching and they're trying to figure out how to do that, I don't even want to call it play the game, but I think everybody who's new is hoping to make money on the drops, and that's just not where we're at anymore. No. I think we have to understand that if you want to make investments or if you want to make flips, there is money to be made in the marketplace. You just have to pick your price points and kind of understand the market of those items, which is why we do the $100,000, $500,000 thing, and we talk about these very specific items. So for me, I'm going to agree with Nothmar Robin 76. That Damian Wayne, I think he's severely undervalued. I think he's $1,000. He's 1,000 gem collectible because there really aren't that many of them. Nope. And if you look at the significance of Batman right now, he's really next in line. Like we've got the villains, but if you have Batman, you need Robin, and that other Robin that is very expensive, and there are very few of them. But I think this Robin could potentially get to that place.
Plus, he's the
you
cool
left
Robin.
Catwoman behind.
Yeah.
Have you forgotten about her?
I've left Catwoman behind. I sold my Catwoman, which is one of the things I was going to talk about in the buy and sell week. Mainly because I really started looking at the market, and I just think I'll say this. I plan on eventually getting her back. It's just that right now when we're looking at growth, I don't know. Like I think Robin, because they're both around the same price point, I think Robin has a better chance to getting to 1,000 than she does. I just do, based on what's happening in the comics right now, based on what we know about Damian Wayne.
Unless Selena Kyle's awesome in this new movie, and maybe people will take to that.
Right, which is possible. We've had so many Catwomen, right? Like we've had so many Hollywood Catwomen.
Yep.
We really haven't had a bunch of really great Robins.
Right.
So that's where I'm at with that. I fell in love with the Day of the Dead stamps, the commons, mainly because they were just so cheap during this drop. They were as high as 275 or 270, and they fell down to 150. So I grabbed a few. I think, and Sean, I think you've talked about this before, and it finally sank in. Just this idea of the United States government's first licensing with an NFT. It's just, and I didn't realize it says USA Forever at the top of the stamp, which is just such a odd flex, but I'll take it.
Me and Herb have talked about that too a lot, about how like that has to be, numerous other things, and more so those things, but also that's a big deal, like the government even getting in even a little bit.
Yeah, and I think before it was like, well, stamp collectors, but then I was like, well, wait, like forget even stamp collectors, just a significant moment in the government's role in this, even granting the okay to make that happen. Like you said, like it's a big moment. So I think even if you don't like them, having one to just put in your pocket for your PC makes sense. And right now they're relatively inexpensive. I like Hawkgirl a lot. Not even because I like the character, but there are only like 3,800 of them. And if you want the MCP, it's a slam dunk. And if you already have Wonder Woman, it just seems like, why not just buy her and then get the set points? And you need her for the set point.
Hey, they're doing a Hawkman movie, so she might pop up.
Right. And it's as far as spec is concerned, it's still great. So it just seems like it's probably the cheapest MCP like completion item, like rare item that you would need, aside from like the stamps. Like she's probably the cheapest like pop culture character.
Yeah, because the common, everybody in our group, we all got on the common and made sure we locked down one of the commons. That's like 75% of the cost of the damn thing.
Right, exactly. And then my last thing, and I'm going to talk about this again with the $1,000 mark, but part of the Trinity combo. Fantastic Four 1, ASM 1. If you do not have Fantastic Four 1 and an Amazing Spider-Man 1, and you're brand new to this thing, and you want an entry point for this long-term portfolio, buying one of each of those makes sense. It doesn't make sense to spend $300 on ASM 1 and then flip it for $350 if it goes up. Like that's not a speculative flip buy, but it's definitely a long-term investment buy if that's what you're into. So I think it's hard because we got in so early. But to be fair, people got in earlier than we did. So there's always that, right? So with that being said, $1,000 price point, Nothmar, how are you spending 1,000 gems?
Yeah, I mean, you covered the same thing that I want to cover. Spider-Man, definitely common and uncommon. I believe they're just a little bit under $1,000. You need to get a Spider-Man a collectible. I think those will definitely be all of them will spike up. There's the Doom UR, but I think it went up again, so I would take that out. So it dipped a little bit, but it looks like it went up again. I would say any SRs. I mean, are we saying 1,000 or are we saying anything in the range of that 1,000?
I would say $1,000, 1,000 gems or less.
Oh, or less. Oh, so that would kill. I would just say Harley Quinn 56. I think that's still under 1,000. So those are, yeah. I was gonna say SRs, but those SRs that are under 1,000, you should seriously take a look at them because these. I've noticed a couple of them like doubled or tripled just in the past 2 weeks. So get any SR you see under $1,000. Any comic book SRs.
Nice. All right, Sean, what do you got?
I would recommend, and this is probably going to be one of the last weeks I will say this because I will no longer be able to say it, and I guarantee this. I would bet my whole portfolio on it. Pick up one MC1, one Fantastic Four 1, one ASM 1, keep the rest of the gems if there's a difference, and save it for a drop. Don't even worry about anything else. Just get one copy of each of those and relax. And don't care if they go up, don't care if they go down. Don't even look at those ones. Function on the app in other areas. Don't even remember you have them. And just hold on to them.
Yep.
And that's under $1,000, and just do that. Super simple.
Nice. Ray, where are you at?
You guys take all the good ones, then I'm last. I had to figure out something else. I think picking up the Trinity of comics, great move. I think Nothmar hit it on the head. If I didn't have an uncommon Spider-Man, I would be buying the common or the uncommon collectible right now because you can't. I mean, it's just the first Marvel NFT. It is what it is. It's on the front page. You got to have one, I think. Something different. I'm torn. I will say Steamboat Willie, common, because it's right at 1,000 this week. I will be curious to see if it stays in that for the next 2 to 3 weeks. I kind of want to see how it performs once the new Minnie Mouse drop, and if they drop something else. I'm not totally sold on it, but there's enough hype and there's enough good points behind it that I would say it's probably a good speculative pick. But I'm probably buying either 2 MC1s or the Holy Trinity of comics before I buy anything else.
Remember when the Holy Trinity was 500 gems? And that, like, we've talked
changes every week.
It
That
does
was
every
legit
week.
an exact sentence I had said on one of our. I'd watched it. I said, "Pick up the Holy Trinity for 500. It's exactly 500."
Yeah. So I don't want to reiterate those. So I'll pick some weird ones that are out on the fringes that I noticed. Ecto 1 UR interactive, I think is at 750-ish. I feel like that's if you have the gems, and this is always that, right? Like if you have the gems available and you have everything that you could possibly want and you don't know what to buy, Ecto 1 UR just seems like it's moving in the direction of DeLorean, and the DeLorean has gone as high as like 1,700, and I remember it, the DeLorean taking off and being 500, and then DeLorean being 850, and then all of a sudden it was up, and then you looked at the Ecto 1 and it was still at 350 for a while, and then it jumped to 4 and change, and now it's at I think roughly 7. So that might be a good move. And I like Ecto 1 because if you want to sell it, it won't crush you. It's 2.5%. So if you make a mistake, you're not going to get bit too badly on that as opposed to maybe a Spider-Man. Now, I think Spider-Man probably has more growth potential, but who knows? I mean, if more people like the idea of having these drivable cars they'll have in the metaverse, you like the idea of being able to rent these things. We don't know what the utility looks like. There's some upside to that. The other one that I'll address is the Powder Puff Girls. That's
Yes.
one Powder Puff Girls group. Mojo Jojo and Buttercup specifically. I bought and sold Buttercup several times on the swings, and I just can't do it anymore because now she's living in the world of the fours, and she was a 200 to 300 gem collectible for forever. Mojo Jojo was a 300 to 350 gem collectible for forever. And now he jumps up to like 7, I think, sometimes, and Buttercup jumps up to like 500 sometimes. Again, they're a 2.5% commission, so if you want to flip them, you're not going to get killed. And I think there's still a ton of upside to them as we get more global participants in the app. Like Powder Puff Girls are just such a popular brand. So, and then of course all the other stuff that you guys suggested, I think are also slam dunks. So that's it. Anything else pop into someone's head before we move on?
For 1,000, just keep your eye on Wonder Woman. I'd just say always check Wonder Woman for 1,000.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet too. All right, so we're going to jump into our top 5 quick picks for the week, and let's keep it focused on the big movers that we noticed, right? Like not so much might be the best investments. These could have been maybe things that have already popped, and you were like, wow, I didn't even, that what that collectible did or what that comic did really impressed me this week. Think about sort of those things. So, Nathmar, what do you have? You don't have to pick 5. Just a couple off the top of your head.
Yeah, you added some extra parameters there, and I don't know if the ones I wrote down meet those parameters now. But I would definitely still say Daredevil 1 commons and uncommons. They're still in the hundreds range, definitely undervalued. I think those will definitely go up to easily $200 to $300. We covered ASM1, UR. I think those are still 1,200. Given that I think the MC1 is like over 2 or 3K now, I think the ASM1 UR at 1,200 is really low. It should definitely be at least 2,000, I think. X-Men 129, the rares, UR and SR, all undervalued. The Black Widow UR, I think that's only, I forgot what it was, but it was definitely really low for a UR. And the Daredevil 121, the common and SR, that's the bullseye. I think those are still relatively affordable if people want like a key of a mega villain. That's one of the biggest Daredevil villains out there. I think they're still under a K for the SRs, and for the commons are like under $20, I think. So
nice. Sean, what about you?
For the comics, I would say for my 5, I had to put MC1 and Avengers 8 in there just because like it was so ridiculous. I know I put those in there a lot, but like the fact that one of them hit 800 and the other one hit 600-ish, I mean, that's pretty significant. I should probably take note of that so I remember later. And then for the second week in a row, I paired together Ultimate Fallout 4 common and uncommon, and I wasn't going to put them on the list, but I put them on again just because like I thought they would have dipped way harder, but they held their value really well, so it signaled to me that I got something good, so I'm going to keep holding on to them. And then Fantastic Four 1, it almost reached up to 300, and it even passed ASM 1 for a little while, and we were talking about that. And then Spider-Man did his thing as usual and just freaked out and hit 300. And Fantastic Four 1 went way down, but now they're getting closer together now, though. So again, I'm harping on the big like 5, 6, 7 comics for last week, this week, and probably will one last time next week. And after that, I'll probably start changing up my picks a lot, just because like you won't be able to buy these anymore. Like normal people aren't going to be able to buy these soon. Like the fact that I even own as many of these as I do is mind blowing, because I've been collecting for a long time, like 20 years, and stuff like this, like you're not supposed to have a lot of it. Like for normal people, you're just not. And we'll find that out. That will pan out like that. Like in 5 years, if Veve survives, we'll be like, hey, remember when we had all those low mints? Like I had like 12 Fantastic 4-1s. You won't have them anymore. You will have sold them because they will be so freaking expensive that there's no way a logical person will hold them all the way through that.
Yeah. Ray, what do you have?
So I noted a couple. Thor 337 flew up at one point in the middle of the week and hit. It was like mid 200s. Now it's back down in the 160s. But we're just talking like short-term movements. That one surprised me. I think we're starting to see New Mutants getting some of the respect it deserves. Ultra Rare performed really well this week. I noted the Common. I think it got close to 90, 95. And then the last three are the big three once again. And I don't know, it's tough for me, right? Because I think I would like to take it off just so we could focus on some other comics that are a little bit more accessible. But at the same time, when I think of an investment and I start to see once the real comic money comes in, you're going to see these comics absolutely go meteoric. I mean, there's just no chance that it doesn't, right? And I think we've talked about a lot of the points here that, I mean, how much easier is it to sell a Veve comic by throwing it up there versus packing, shipping, CGC, waiting 8 months for it? You got to hope that you sell it at the right time before the trailer. Yeah, right. And so it's just so much easier. And I think that as we keep moving forward, I'm still looking for Fantastic Four 1, 5, ASM 1, UF4, New Mutant 89, like some of those big tier 2, tier 1 books. That's still where I'm looking to find some good deals, because I think that it's just going, again, they're going to separate themselves from all the new books, because eventually you're going to have to get to some non-Grail books, and we're going to see some separation in the market, I think.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think this was as a collector on Veve, and I'm sure people are going to want to burn my house down when I say this. This was probably one of my favorite weeks, mainly because I didn't buy a lot and I just kind of watched the market and tried to just get a sense of what was happening. And you learn a lot just from picking what you know and love, studying what you know and love, and doing a little bit of research. So on the website, nftmpd.com, I published an article on Sunday that kind of just addressed the importance of research and paying attention to kind of what you're looking at. And I think New Mutants 98 is a book that we've been talking about for a very, very long time. And that's one of my picks for this week, because it just finally did what we all knew it was going to do, right? It was and I was buying and selling it at like 15 and then 25. It was kind of living in that, like, it went down to like 11 at one point in that world. And then it finally popped, right? And we've been listening to each other and just trying to get a sense of what's what. My big picks for this week are picks for different reasons. New Mutants 98, because it finally did what we thought it was going to do. Ultimate Fallout 4, the Uncommon, I think, I'm not going to say that it's recession-proof or whatever, but it didn't get crushed like everything else got crushed.
It was crazy. Like,
it just didn't.
It didn't even like move. Like it went down like 50 gems at one point, but like that, and then it just like was like, no, I'm still 250. Like,
yeah, it's not. Well, it's kind of bulletproof, right? So that was super impressive. ASM 1 and Fantastic Four 1 are kind of living in that world now. Fantastic Four 5, I still don't have one. I need to get one. I know that it's something that's important. I just haven't pulled the trigger. And, you know, that's one of those books that's starting to take on a life of its own outside of Fantastic Four, because it's a Doom book. And
it left behind Ultimate Fallout 4. It was leg and leg with it. And now that it's signaling so far ahead of Ultimate Fallout 4, it probably is a sign that probably want to grab it.
Right. And then for collectibles, we saw, I think people were hating on Steamboat Willie for a really long time. There was a question of, Will Steamboat Willie be better than Superman? The answer to that right now is yes. As far as the UR is concerned, it was up at like 8. The other, I didn't realize that the other ones essentially doubled since the last time we all spoke. I checked our notes from last week, and I was really like, oh wow, they all doubled. So that was a really impressive run. R2D2 went as high as like 8,900. The golden moments are weird because they're starting to like double and then kind of reduce and then double and then they fall back to like they have this weird half-life where they surge and then fall.
It was like for sure, like partners, it was 10K and then it went to 20K and then it receded. And then it went to 20K and then it jumped to 40K and then it's receding. So like, does that mean it's gonna go to 80K? Who knows?
Yeah, but I think we've talked about this before. It's probably one of those things that you just buy and hold on. Like you're not flipping a golden moments. And I think if your plan is to flip golden moment statues, listen, we're not geniuses. I don't know everything, but I just don't think that's a great strategy. I just think there are other ways to make money.
Yeah, if you're flipping something that high, flip DC, right? I mean, I think that when you're talking like when I flipped Joe Madera Batman this past week, taking the difference between 2% and 8.5% is vast, especially once you get up and you're talking $8,900. I mean, they're taking almost $1,000 out compared to 200. I mean, that's a totally different. I don't know. Yeah. So for flipping wise, yeah, I think just hold them.
And indie art's going to start separating itself too once we're on a better. Well, mostly when Omi's on exchanges and people start hearing about the coin and then they start coming in here and you start getting real money in here.
Yeah, and talking about that, I guess we can transition into buying and selling, like what you guys bought and sold this week and why you bought and sold. Is HODL the move? Are you buying with the hopes of this is something I plan on holding for the next 6 months? Are you buying on Monday with the hopes of like I'm probably going to sell this on Friday? These are different strategies, and you pick different price points when you do this. Nathmar, what did you buy, sell, and why?
Yeah, I mean, actually, this is the first time I've sold in like a long time. I sold two collectibles. So I saw a Batgirl first appearance, and I sold a Human Torch, and I was surprised because I thought I put it a little bit higher than floor. So I thought it would take like a week or two, but it sold in like 1 day. So the floor like came up after it dipped, it went back up pretty quickly. So in terms of buying, I've been light in buying lately because I've been stretched. I already maxed out what I wanted to buy, but I did buy a couple of knickknacks, like Saffin's mask and James Bond posters, so I've been picking up because I thought those were cool and undervalued. Valdo's case, I bought a Rise of Ultraman poster. So yeah, and definitely posters I'm trying to chase because I wanted to buy more art and pop art. So I want to kind of diversify because I definitely am heavy on the comics and collectibles for comics. So I wanted to definitely diversify in a different sector, so.
Nice. Sean, what about you?
Actually, I don't recommend selling MC1s ever. I mean, they do swing though, so it is a good flip. That is one of those things where like the swings are so major that it erases that 8.5% fee. But like, when I look at it like original comics like Fantastic Four 1, ASM 1, and MC 1, I noticed that the uncommon doesn't perform super well versus the common specifically for those because they're such iconic covers. I don't think anybody likes that people mess with them. I don't think there's a single person that would say they like how the uncommon looks better than the common. So when I see opportunities, like when like an uncommon swings really high on one of those and I own one, I will sell one because I don't care about it. And I know lots of other people don't either. The only people buying them really are people that like full sets, early stackers, or people that have more money than I do. So I flip those when I can into statues because I don't buy a lot of statues. And that way it gives me statues in a way for free. So like this week I took an uncommon MC1 I had bought for like 130 gems, sold it for like 600 or 650, bought ultra rare Voltron, so it completed my Voltron set and I still had gems left over, and for me it was like a no-brainer. I mean, for 130 gems I got an ultra rare Voltron and gems for the next drop. So like sometimes it is okay to flip the grails, but make sure you're doing it on the right side of it, because otherwise you're gonna end up with a bag or end up not happy.
Yeah, that's a great point. Ray, what about you?
So I this week, very much like I think everyone, I did sell a little bit, and so I think I've kind of taken a new position to having 10 to 20% of my, I guess, portfolio be kind of a quick flip. And so the stuff I bought today, so I did buy the Batman Croc statue, A, because I really like it, B, because I do see some long-term potential. I want to see what the other statues look like. I got it at, I think, like 910, 920. So either way, I don't think I'm losing money. I don't think it dips under 1,000. I'm not worried about it. That's going to be a long-term hold. But I also got, like I said, the UF4. I found some other. I got a New Mutants 98. All that with funds that I plan to buy now, and then they're designated to sell once they hit their previous highs, right? And I think that then I'll wait for the mini drop and try and repeat and just see if I can ultimately work my way back up to Elsa, which I made the mistake of not picking her up when she was doable. So I also picked up Wonder Woman, love it, pumped. I sold the Joe Madera Batman and ended up flipping that into Wonder Woman plus the new Batman statue with some gems left over for the Strange Academy drop, which I love because I love the comic books. So
Derek snagged 2 Wonder Womans too. So, and I was like this close to snagging one.
It's I think eventually that her time will come when she lifts. I think we see some pretty big movements.
I agree. She's going to latch up to that trilogy for sure, or the Trinity, and we're going to start seeing like Risso and Todd, Wonder Woman and Supes, especially because Superman and Wonder Woman, they don't have any competition. They're statues alone, and a lot of users don't realize because they weren't here during the black and white drops. They don't understand how many Batman statues there are. They have no clue. Like, they see them, but they don't understand how significant it is in a collector's world of first appearances where there's no competition for a Wonder Woman or Superman, but then you have 50 statues in competition for Batman.
Yeah, I mean, we covered the Holy Trinity for Marvel, right? But what's the Holy Trinity for DC? It's Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, right? So, I mean, those three are going to explode. So Wonder Woman is dirt cheap right now, I think. It's definitely got the chance to get to 75% of what Superman is, maybe even 100%, right? So,
yeah, she's on the global scale. She holds more fans than Batman or Superman. So, like, if the global economy does get involved with Veve, there is a high likelihood that people will be buying Wonder Womans.
Honestly, I'll be curious to see, because I've been kind of watching the past 2 weeks how money seems to flow between DC and Marvel collectibles. Right? We saw Todd, Superman, all of it flew, and we said, I think 2 weeks ago or 1 week, get your Disney Golden Moments. And then what happened? They doubled. And then we had the drop and everything kind of fell. So I wonder how much Steamboat Mickey, I mean, I think it surprised me. I don't know who else. I didn't see it being a 10.8K and just crushing everything else. I wonder how much of that money from these Disney Golden Moments are now going to flow back into Todd, Superman, and some of the bigger DC collectibles that haven't seen the jump since then.
Yeah, that's a different level of playing, right? So, because I have seen people who try to flip between Todd's and Disney's. I was like, oh man, that's like not even like in our strategy.
You're asking to be left from all of them.
It's like what kind of human are you? Like, what are you?
I think one of the things that's important Sean, you touched on it. The Batman's kind of oversaturated at this point. Like totally oversaturated. And I think the black and white collectibles or anything pre-November of this past year, anybody who got in early bought several of those things. So it's a different type of game when you find out that someone has 10 Jim Lee Jokers.
Yeah.
They can manipulate the market and control the economy in a way that people who have R2-D2s now kind of can't. So we're not really comparing apples to apples. So one thing I think we're starting to see, though, is all those people who bought 10 Jokers don't have 10 Jokers now because of all of these other drops that are coming. And now they're like selling a Joker to get the 1.5K drop and then selling a Joker to get the next 1.5K drop. So we're starting to see that kind of like dissolve a little bit. But
Ooh, I have to say I still have my my 11 Jokers.
that's
I do agree. I see that power, that centralized power. What's going to happen is it's going to slowly drip away as the prices rise so high, and they're going to sell for new drops to keep making sure their portfolio grows. It's common sense. They want to keep growing their portfolio too.
I see these Jokers hitting like 10K also, dude. That's why somebody told me when it hit 1K, why are you not selling it? That's 10K. I said at the minimum by next year, I see this as 2K at the minimum. Why would I sell that early, right? So and then long term, I see it as 5K and maybe even 10K. So I'm holding it a little bit. Maybe I'll sell one for profit if it goes up to 2K, but I'm gonna try my best to hold it on to them. So
the thing I am concerned about though, and I definitely see this happening with the low mints, and a lot of people don't monitor low mints as much as I do, so they disagree with me a lot on it. But like, I'm pretty passionate about it. If you monitor the low mints for a lot of time, you're gonna start seeing that there is a huge centralizing of power in the low mintage on the VV platform. And it's not just people that had 10 Jokers and they sell one at a time. What's happening is you're seeing guys that had 10 Jokers or 20 or 30 Jokers. And now that the stackers are starting to sell them off, whales are a step up from that. And they can still stack at 1,000. When Joker goes from 2,000 to 1.1 or 1.2, a whale's going to grab 3 or 4 of them or 5 of them.
I think a majority of the people now are agreeing with the with the low mints, Sean. I think you'd be hiding under the rock if you're not looking at low mints by now. I think if your game is not complete if you do not have low mints, right? So I think
they're getting centralized with more rich people. Like they're getting to the point where if you click on a listing of a key, whether it's a comic or collectible,
the same people
click on a listing, you can scroll down like 20, 30, 40 listings sometimes and see 0 4-digit mints in the comics. Or 0 1 XXXX mints for collectibles. Like you just won't see them in the top 40 because you're buying them.
So full disclosure, not a huge fan of the low mints. However, I don't ignore good advice. And if you want a complete portfolio, I think in this market, you need to do your research. You need to listen, and you need to pull the trigger on some things. So as far as buying and selling goes, like this week was a sell week for. I bought and sold a lot, not to make money though. I think that's the other thing. I was not flipping to try and make a profit. I was trying to use the flow of the market just to redistribute my gems and reevaluate my portfolio. So it kind of worked out for me. And I recommend anybody, when these dips happen, I don't think you should look at it and say, oh my gosh, my portfolio is ruined. I think you should look at your portfolio and say, hey, what don't I love? Is there something else that dipped? Because if everything drops 30%, then what's the big deal? Sell what you need to sell and buy back what you need to buy. If you can time it right and you can sell right, like if you can sell right before the dip and buy at the dip, that's perfect. But, you kind of have to be honest with yourself. And I sold my Catwoman. I sold my Catwoman at even. Right. And I held her for a while. I probably should have sold her at like 6. I didn't. I sold her at 375. And I was upset about it until I realized so much other stuff fell too, that it really was a wash. And I bought a low mint Daredevil 1. I've been looking at these 5%ers, and I like that idea of the 5% line for MCP. Even though it's kind of immaterial, it's still a line in the sand. And at the end of the day, people look for those things. So I bought a Daredevil 1 5%er. I bought a Fantastic 4-1 5%er. I sold my Falcon. I sold my Thing. I sold a Storm. But I sold them all at a profit and then rolled those things into things like I bought 2 Day of the Dead stamps because I know the Day of the Dead stamp high for commons was 275 or 270. Mm-hmm. They were at 150 for a while. And I was looking around like, why not just grab, if I can buy 2, to Ray's point, if I can buy 2, put 1 into my like flip arsenal. Well, now if when it swings back up to 300, which I'm pretty sure it will, I'll just unload it and then reevaluate and then move those gems over. So that was kind of what I did this week, like looking at the scale of everything and trying to move stuff around.
You broke my heart that you sold
Yeah.
the Falcon and the thing, Carmen. You broke my
Yeah.
heart.
Oh, I also sold Groot.
Well,
And I bought Groot. That was another one. Like I bought Groot at 350, and then I bought Groot at 250. He jumped to like 425, and I held him, and then I sold him at like 310 when the market started to fall because then I reevaluated and was like, well, I should probably move this. I like Groot, but just because I like Groot, I don't know if that's the best move for me right now for my portfolio as far as growth is concerned.
And I think Sean it made a real interesting point. I think, Carmen, you kind of show it that really low mints is what's your game plan, right? Are you trying to flip, or are you trying to hold long term? Hold long term. I do actually like low mints. I think they will hold absolutely a much higher percentage value. But like for my case, I had a low mint Joe Madera Batman, and everything's dropping, and I'm trying to sell it, but I don't want to sell it at floor because I know it's worth more. I got real lucky that there was a sudden small pop that it hit the sold, and then the floor just dropped out. But if you're looking to flip a collectible or a comic, don't be buying way over floor and then expecting to flip it, because they just don't move as fast, right? They just don't.
Right.
I mean, that's something that you're looking 5 years down the road. Let's throw it up there and see if it sells in a month. I think that's it all comes down to mindset and what your end goal is.
Yeah, are you looking to like build long-term wealth, or are you looking to flip and do day trading and try to make moves now, and make money now because, you want to make money now? It's completely different things. Also, I would recommend, and this is my strategy, and I use this, and it's served me insanely well. I always, if there's something I want and I only have money for it, and it equals the exact amount of gems I have, I'll look for an item that's half the price of it, and I will buy 2 of an object of something I actually don't want as much versus the one thing that I do want. And even though it makes me mad as a collector, as an investor, it's always served me better to grab, almost always, not always true, but for me, it's almost always been true, where when I've bought those 2 items, I almost always have made money. Like, it almost always, but I can definitely tell you times where every single person in this group has bought a single item and it's went down in value. I can definitely tell you that. And like, that's a bad feeling. And it's lessened when you have cheaper items. Like when an item goes down 20 gems and it's $100, it's at 80 gems still. When an item's $13,000 and it goes down to $5,000, people feel really shitty. Like, so it's definitely different. So like, I think the buying 2 at a time thing is a good strategy for people that are trying to build a portfolio.
Yeah, and I tell people that too. If you're looking short term, you're putting yourself at risk, right? If you're buying something that you don't want to hold 5 years down the road, or you don't see it like hit the value target range, like we say 10x, right? If it doesn't hit that, you're going to sell right away. So you're short term. I don't think you're going to hit 10x in short term, right? So if you say you're going to hit 10x, if it dips a little bit, that's not going to bother you because you bought it for a reason. You believe that it's going to go 10x. It'll be volatile. There's no way it's going to go straight up to 10x, right? It's got to go up and down, up and down. If you sell at the first time it goes down, then you really did not believe it's a 10x, right? So it's a short-term flip. So
good point. If you truly believe in your thing, what are you worried about? Why you keep checking it? Like if you truly believe in it, checking. Like,
yeah, why'd you buy it then, right? You probably picked something else that you believe is a 10x then, right? So there you probably believed that it was a 1x. So you sold when it dropped like 1x, right? So
yeah. It's like you're lying to yourself. It's like you bought something, and you're like, I don't believe in this. And then like when it goes down, it confirms your bias, and you're like, I'm stupid, I'm selling it.
Well, I think it's something else that we've all talked about is being honest with what you think will, aside from what you love, because I always recommend, like, if you love it, like, buy it, whatever. Like, buy what you love, sure. But if you're interested in trying to grow this portfolio, there's this question of, like, okay, do I think this can go 2x in a month? And if I do, can I compare it to something that's similar that's also already made that move? Like, am I looking for something that has the potential to go 2 or 3x and hasn't yet, but something else did and that makes sense? Or are you buying something that just went 3x and you're like, I think it's going to go 3x again. Well, you're going to have to take a time out and relax a little bit, because everything sort of needs its turn, and that one just had its turn, you know.
Oh, and a good thing to watch is, like you just kind of mentioned, if something hit 2K and then it goes down to 1.1K, and like it's hit 2K before and held 2K, and we had less users, and it was like a month before, and this applies in the Pokemon market especially. It's ways that people like Randy Chavez, for example, made a lot of money and got to where he is now to make the investments he's done now. Is you monitor markets, and when you see things hold ground at a certain level, and you know that they can hold that ground, and then more people are getting in, and then it drops in price because of some release or something's going on in the market. You know, 1,000 reasons could happen. There's a high likelihood it's going to cycle back and retrace that number, and likely go beyond it, because it's always going to find a higher floor with each retrace. In my opinion, with a key. So like, that's something to monitor if you want to start being a student of Veve or art or anything. Monitor the price of what you want to buy for a while, and if you do see it retrace to half its value, do research. Don't just buy it, like, you know, because lots of things can retrace 50% and then retrace another 50%. So like, again, do your research, but like, that's a good way to build value is buy things that are solid keys that are being sold out of greed or being sold out of FOMO. That's the only way you're going to get those good items.
Yeah. Great point. Nothmar, do you have something to add?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, because it definitely, what Sean mentioned, I cover a lot of those things on my stocks, my stocks research, right? There's always, if you really want to take it to the next level, research the floor, research the support, research the what do you call it, the top? I forgot the top now. Research where the upper the upper ceiling is, and see if it breaks that. Review the indicators. Is there anything that's changed since last time when our NFTs drop? There's no way users drop right now, right? If anything, users are still there, but it looks like people are probably just juggling their finances because they can only buy so much, right? So they say they want Batman Croc or they want Mini, so they're probably gonna sell off short term, and they're probably gonna sell stuff that they normally wouldn't have sold if they had enough money, right? So it's an opportunity for people, right? So
and that's where people like Nothmar and me specifically, that's our value. You know, we look for, how Nothmar put it, you bottom feed. You look for the stuff that everyone else is looking past, and you buy it.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. It's a perfect position. But look, we are into our 1 hour show. And the rule is, it's a 1 hour show. So with all of that being said, thank you so much from the dojo. My name is Carmen. We have Sean, Ray, and Nothmar here. Come back next week, 8 p.m. If you have not checked our website, nftmpd.com, you will find our articles. You will find our top 5 picks for the week and a whole bunch of other good stuff. See y'all later. Gentlemen, as always, thank you. Bye.
Pleasure.
Bye.